as much as there is intricacy and love and detail into every blade of grass and tree and the life that surrounds each of these things, ultimately, the universe is impersonal. And because it treats all these things as one, the universe or everything is just so impersonal that it appears as personal. And I have to really sit back and start considering this, because you start manifesting a lot of things, you start having a lot of good situations come your way, and then you start questioning, why am I receiving this type of stuff? And your energy is resonating in line with this impersonality, where it starts to feel natural to realize that I am. And we keep getting caught in this human loop of needing to use logic to break down the shit that we already know is true. And it's because we don't believe why things happen the way they happen. We have to analyze and synthesize and see if we can formulate how something could have happened before we are aware of it happening. And it's stupid, just because what happened already fucking happened. And not only that, it's just, do you really benefit from doing that over and over and over and over? I could see when you're doing it in the beginning, because when you're talking about doing this stuff, this process of understanding your past, the shadow work, you want to understand the energetic impression that these things in the past, the way they've affected you, so that you can move on. Because on some level in your subconscious, which is the all-knowing, eternal, what I've been calling just the God pattern, it's holding on to that to some extent. And you want to at least have that brought to your conscious awareness so that you can overcome it in the now. And you're not worrying about projecting certain things onto other people, or always feeling like you're trying to save the world and whatnot, or at least in my case, where it feels like I always have to perform to feel loved. It doesn't, and I know that comes from parents, but not because it's parents' fault, but because it's just some type of perception I formed somehow when I was younger, where I felt like I couldn't be loved just being Harvey. I had to be something else. I had to do what's right based on their idea of rightness and wrongness. And because of that, I directly opposed it. So then I started becoming like the obnoxious kid. I was just fucking wild. I was a chaos being. It was like, fuck you for trying to do something. Fuck you for trying to tell me to do something. Because I'm in my own body and I can do whatever the hell I want. Not taking, and that's the crazy thing, because it's like, it's still true to an extent. Because, when you have children, you have to acknowledge that they are their own being. And you can only control them so much, but really what you're doing is you want to give off the impressions as much as so to have them thrive on their own. I love my mom and my dad. And this is what I'm so grateful for. Because without me really looking within and being like, why do I commercialize on the sad moments of my life? Why do I focus on those the most? And be like, this is what shaped me. This is what forged me in the darkness. Instead of appreciating more the way I crawled out of those situations. And now it's just, I'm fucking grateful for the parents I had. My dad, in the past he had anger issues. And my mom, she was just kind of like, she was there physically. We were very close. I was actually closer to my mom than my dad. But there became a point where it was almost like the boy who cried wolf, where I used to have to go to the hospital for a lot of things, not for like internal sicknesses, more like we'd be roughhousing with my siblings, we'd be playing and shit, and I'd like sprain a leg or something like that. And it got to a point to where when I started talking more about the emotional things, because as I was going through the school year, I was getting more and more depressed because I didn't know how to express myself. I didn't know how to communicate. And so when I did, I wasn't understood. But I understood myself in my head, and it was something I was always able to do. So I was frustrated with how I couldn't bridge the gap between my vocal cords and my thoughts. And as I was trying to, in the future, explain this toil with my mom, it was like the boy who cried wolf. It was like you always had these situations where you're getting checked in for something, getting something, where it's like you're pretty much a hypochondriac. And so when you start talking about me about like, oh, you have depression at 7, it's just like, fuck out of my face. And that created a lot of resentment for some time, because later, about sophomore year, so from around 7 all the way to sophomore year of high school, I finally do get it checked. And not because she actually took my word for it, and it was like, let's get it checked out. But because they had some type of new thing where you'd have to have a checkout, like you do like a little test or something like that before you had your well checkup. This was just a normal well checkup, and I did the test, and then they're like, you're severely depressed. And mom was just sitting there like surprised in like a low-key way, but it's like I've like been fucking telling you this. But yeah, that created a lot of heartache. I wouldn't say really, see, now I look back at it, I can't even really say resentment. It was there to an extent, but really it was just, I shut myself off from that intimate feeling I used to have with my mother, where we used to watch Blue's Clues together. That's how close we were. We would just sit down, watch all these episodes of Blue's Clues. I would draw with the little notepad. I had the fucking mailbox, the purple mailbox. Steve was my nigga, and then Joe came on. I was like, who the fuck is this? We went to I grew up in Goose Creek, and one of the events we had, I don't know if it was in Goose Creek, but nevertheless, we had a Blue's Clues event thing she took me to. And that's probably the main memory I really remember when I was younger. Before 7, I don't really remember much of my past, yet I still get like these resurfacing moments. But I remember us looking in like a very foresty area, and we were looking for the Blue's Clues. We were looking for the little blue paw prints on the tree, and I just remember enjoying that so much. And it was like, over time, I slowly started forgetting how caring and how nurturing mom really was, because my perception as that little boy was so fucking focused on how much she didn't love me, or at least how much it appeared to me that she didn't love me. And then with dad's side, where it was kind of like, dad was he was always openly warm. It was always easy for him to communicate his warmth to his children. He's a family man, but he'd also be on that fuck shit, you know. He would cheat, and because of that, mom didn't tolerate that shit. So then eventually it got to a point to where we weren't a cohesive family unit. It was just me and mom and my little brother and my little sister. But really the main thing, and that created resentment too, because it was just like, why can't you, it gave me the impression that like our relationships even meant to last that long, because all I hear all the time everywhere, aside from the personal experiences, is that just relationships seem to just be fickle. They don't last that long because somebody is putting out more energy than the other person. And I realize it just has to do with your choice of picking, and it has really nothing to do with the dynamics of relationship itself. It depends heavily on how much you see wholeness in yourself, and that's what allows you to attract that wholeness in another. And so that's why I guess it was a long time where I was afraid of getting into a relationship. I was afraid of having sex because I felt like I would fall in love with the wrong person. That's what it felt like. I genuinely was afraid that I was going to connect to the wrong person. And you know, with dad, another thing was just that he indirectly projected a lot of expectations on his children. You know, we grew up where it was like money was always the focus of our family. We were always trying to figure out ways to just stay afloat, and we actually did stay afloat most of our lives. And I was able, and they were fucking grinding. They had it so that, especially my dad, they had it so that even though I couldn't always like get the games I wanted when I asked for it, like, because I always had this thing where like I would ask for a video game every birthday I had. And we have a lot of fond memories, me, dad, and my siblings, where we all grew up playing Call of Duty and stuff like that. Like, and this is why I'm going back to, like, I'm so grateful for my family, because we had the freedom to express ourselves. Now, I don't know if that's just my soul coming down and like choosing that life or what. It don't really matter. The truth is, the experience taught me that it's okay to like what I like just because I like it, and I don't need to necessarily always explain my reasonings for shit, you know? Like, even like down to the little things where mom and dad, they grew up playing video games when they met. So there was no bullshit ass misconception of, oh, if your kid plays video games, they're going to be violent. I grew up playing Mortal Kombat. I grew up playing, watching Blade and I Am Legend, and I was watching all sorts of shows and movies and, you know, interacting with this world of what seems to be so taboo to a lot of families. And that's kind of what made me see through the veil. That's probably one of the first things that really started making me question reality in a broader sense outside of what my family believes. What I mean when I say dad was indirectly projecting his ideals onto his children was that he has a very business-minded mindset. And that's something I can see myself benefiting from now, because I still have that integrated within me. I know how to organize shit, and I know how to set it up so that if I had a large enough group, we can get it done overnight. And that's something I'm very proud of, and I know I got that from my dad. And same thing with mom. Mom's ability to just decode, even though she seems cold on the surface, when you get to know her, she's one of the most nurturing beings you'd ever meet. And that's something I for sure got from her that is integrated within me, and that I deeply appreciate, because without me being able to be comfortable getting to know people over time, I probably wouldn't have any friends, because that's just how I'm built. I'm the type of person where we really got to be hanging for a minute before you truly understand how I am. Not because I'm trying to hold back shit and drop it to you in increments, but just because my mind's generally blank when I'm around other people. I have all these introspective thoughts and philosophical ideals and dreams and aspirations and work to do now. I love being busy. I love staying on my feet. And that's why the jobs I've been working at, I fucking hate it when there's like open space. I know most people, it's like I get to just chill and I get paid, but I'm not like that. I'm not built like that. It irritates me, because if I'm not moving, what the fuck am I here for? You know, I feel like I'm wasting my own time. It has nothing to do with the actual job itself. And I see how that business mindset at first, it made me like a people pleaser to an extent when I was younger, because all I was concerned with was projecting this idea of I'm successful, because that's all dad was projecting to me. He desired more than anything to be successful so that he could support for his family, and he did. But he really wanted to go out big. And he had all these amazing plans and business ideas and invention ideas and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But he never acted on them individually. He never sat down and was like, okay, I'm going to save this up so that I can get this patent and then design this, or pay these people to look at this and do that. He never did any of that. And the reasons I don't really think matter, but it really did teach me a valuable lesson that as much as a dreamer as I am, if I can't focus on any of those dreams, it's going to remain as though I'm sleeping. And so that's what actually helped me a lot on my journey of sitting down and just journaling things. See, I think if dad journaled, he'd be a billionaire easily. I journal my thoughts and I synthesize exactly who I am, how I do things in a way so that I know ultimately what I really want as a school. And at first it was this whole, I want to teach the world. And I suppose that's what internet is for, but Sadhguru had a quote, and he said,
is it more important to do what you love or love what you're doing?
One word or more?
The choice is entirely yours.
See, if you are an intelligent person, you will try to do what you love most. But if you're a genius, you will do just what is needed.
I really took that to heart when I heard him say that a couple days. So I wrote down, I was like, so what is it that I love to do? And I wrote down, teach the world. I want to teach the world. That's ultimately what I always saw myself doing. It was when I was younger. I wanted to educate something. I wanted to create some type of shift before I even knew about the Aquarian age, before I even knew that I was a starseed, and before I even had the experiences teaching me that I'm really supposed to be taking advantage of the energy I have so that I can uplift as many other people around me as possible. But then when you said that second part, but if you're a genius, you'll do what's only needed from you. I had to sit down and think about that for a second. What is only needed from me right now? And that was committing to the full transformation of myself, because only through that will I be able to actually teach the right things, you know? I don't want to feel like I have to teeter-totter on my videos where I won't upload in fear that I don't have anything for you. Again, it's this whole, I feel like if I'm not performing, it's hard to just love me for me. It's this attachment to image. And another thing I actually really did, which I really recommend for you guys to check out, is do an Enneagram test. It starts with an E, Enneagram. And apparently it's some type of ancient system of philosophy. I can't remember. It's an ancient spiritual system. And when you figure out what your enneagram is, what type you are, and it's funny because if you look at it, it actually does model vortex mathematics of 3, 6, and 9. It'll better understand the energy you have, and it'll give you a direct path to figuring out how to do your shadow work. And that's how, because of me doing this yesterday and watching videos on it yesterday, I know what shadow work I really need to devote myself, because I plan on mastering myself this year and getting rid of all these subconscious barriers. Like, that's the main thing. It's really the only thing on my mind that I'm concerned with, because everything else would just fall into place after that. Because I realized that I am my worst enemy, but I am also my best friend. So why do I need the strife trying to get other people to understand what I'm saying? Why do I need to fucking get aggravated when people don't see what I see? When ultimately I'm the one that is struggling to communicate what I'm saying to myself. So that's really what's been on my mind lately. There's energy dormant that we really need to be focusing on utilizing. And that if we express that more in our everyday lives, everybody else would be better able to understand that energy in themselves. Because ultimately it has to do with the death of self-definition, where we like to use logic to name shit, to end shit, to identify things, and it's unnecessary. There's no need for it in your life. We already have the sciences. We already have all the things you need to study. So why do you need to formulate those same crystals, those same finished products in your head when you know you're constantly a work in progress? So, yeah, just take that as you will. You do whatever you want, because it's probably, it could be within your path to actually continue doing that until you realize yourself, through your own experiences, that you got to do what you got to do. That's all I want to talk on. I just want to be transparent with you guys. I always try to just speak my mind, and never has it felt so easy to talk about something like this in a while. And I think it's just because I'm slowly letting go of this image of having to feel like Dehydrayton is a fucking brand instead of who it really is, which is just, it's Harvey. It's me. And if I really want to be loved for just how I am, then I need to present how the fuck I am. So I want to thank you guys for supporting me. I have a cash out. I'm actually trying to move out right now, and I'm just figuring this out with my mom, trying to manifest the right things so she isn't stressing so hard. But actually I went back on it and I had to make a new account. My cash app is actually Harv963, and if you have a PayPal, it's hdrayton32@gmail.com. But nevertheless, I appreciate you guys for watching my videos and just giving me feedback. I love getting comments on my videos. It's the little shit that counts for me. And that's what we forget a lot. Like, we forget that good things happen because the small victories add up. And bad things really only happen when we assume that every thought we have is our friend, and then we react to them as such. So keep that in mind as life just happens, because ultimately you make life happen for yourself. And it's a beautiful thing to know that everything is so impersonal that it appears as personal. But yeah, that's all I have to speak on. Thanks for watching, and stay vibrational. Peace to the Pantheon.
All my niggas rebels, we don't care if we're special. What the mental body thoughts release outside the vessel. RH negative, but all my thoughts just feel so positive. So maybe I could offer this. Dehydrating needs some water, he fell out his element. People tell me that there's more to know about my melanin. Tripping on my words, I'm trying to find my way to eloquence. The first impression of misperception. So while you stressing, forget depression. Create perspective to intercept it. Your heart connection provides direction. Divine inspection, a vital lesson.